today at 850-916-9304 or book online at drpaulbritt.com. That's 850-916-9304 or online at drpaulbritt.com. They want to fix you swiftly to get you back in the game.
Well, welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. We've had some technical issues there. I went ahead and switched over to Culver's Wi-Fi here so we can hopefully finish up the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And this Irish Bill's Seminole Bob. We're back here at Culver's in Navarre, and that's the second emergency vehicle that we've seen go down the road here, Bob. Hopefully that everyone's okay. And
yeah, absolutely.
So checking back in, I'm gonna have to get a call into my IT guy and see what's going on with the Wi-Fi connection. But looks like we're running strong here on Culver's, so we'll finish out the rest of the show on Culver's.
Password cheese curds. Love those.
You gotta like it.
Oh, man.
Cheese curds. Well, now we move over to college picks, and there's Joe. Thanks for staying with us, Joe. We are back on. We had to switch Wi-Fi here from your text to Culver's here, so we're just in time for the college picks. So glad you checked on back in, Joe. Once again, Irish Bill and Seminole Bob. I got the advantage, +3 last weekend. Notre Dame over. But what a game, Bob! That was one of the. I've been to quite a few college football games, and that was by far the best one. Notre Dame got up big in the second half. Florida State fought back, tied it, sent it to overtime. I had a chance to win it. Missed a field goal as their coach iced their own kicker. You don't see that too often.
Well, yeah, he was looking at the call that the botch snap, and he threw the quarterback Milton threw the ball down on the ground, and so.
We got Joe and Tim Keene out there tonight. They're going back and forth. Joe says, "Go Gators." And what does Tim say?
I can't read that. You'll have to read that.
I can't read it either.
Roll Tide.
Nice try, Tim. Tim's been trying to get me to say that ever since he watches all of my shows, and all of my broadcasts.
We'll have to see him up Tallahassee. Maybe he could make the game.
That's Jonathan.
Oh.
This is Tim. He's our local guy.
I remember Tim. I'm sorry, Tim.
Yeah. Tim helped us out a couple of years ago on the camera prior to COVID. But it's Thursday night. We kicked off last Thursday.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
We'll finish up on the Notre Dame game here in just a second. Thursday night we have Boise State at UCF. Here's our victories from Thursday night. UCF, NC State, Ohio State, Tennessee, Arizona State, Utah, and Coastal. We were perfect on Thursday night, so we need to pick more often on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. Or they need to have more Thursday night games because we went 2, 4, 6, 7-0 on Thursday night. Didn't fare so well on Friday night, though.
No.
2 games, North Carolina at Virginia Tech and Michigan State at Northwestern. We both lost those games.
I think a lot of people did, to be honest with you.
And what a Big Ten matchup. A slugfest between Penn State and Wisconsin to start the Saturday action.
I saw that.
Penn State wins early on. We both missed that one as well. So where you really got me, though, as we go down the list here is you took Iowa. I took Indiana. Indiana did disappointing effort. Very disappointing with the Hoosiers. Don't even show up. They have 2 pick sixes in the first half to the same guy. And they get beat 34-6. Not taking anything away from Iowa. Iowa played a heck of a game.
Yep.
But Indiana just did not show up ready for that game. So you got that one over me. And then we move on down to the Clemson-Georgia game. And I took Clemson, and neither offense really showed up in that game. It was decided by a pick six.
Right.
And Georgia wins that one. So you take that one. And then
I picked LSU. We both picked LSU, didn't we?
Then I picked Notre Dame. You took Florida State. We don't pick against our teams.
Right.
And then Ole Miss just laid the wood to Louisville on Monday night.
Saw that.
But LSU, what? There's one question I've been asked by a lot of individuals on sports talk shows this week. Is Ed Ogeron in the hot seat?
Well, Bill, I'm glad you asked me that question. By the way, did I tell you I had 6 Red Bulls?
I could tell, Coach.
We got to regroup this week. We're in trouble. In fact, my pants are a little warm.
You play another Louisiana team this week. I think you're playing McNeese State that played a Division II school last week in UWF and got beat.
Yeah.
You like your chances, Coach?
I think so. I think we'll win the game handily, and I might go drink me some Red Bulls after the game, and all I can say, Bill, is go Tigers.
Go Tigers. That's pretty good. Not too bad. How's your throat now?
I'm pretty good.
Pretty good? Okay, so 18
but
and
my
7.
seat's still hot.
18 and 7 for me this week. 19 and 6 for Bobby. He edges me out by a game. Through both weeks, we're tied at 25 and 8, 75.8%. Now we got some games to pick for this coming week.
Boy, last week was just, Bill, I drove my girls crazy. We had games Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
and Monday. And guess what we got tomorrow night? NFL football start.
Pro football.
No competition for the pros tomorrow night, so they're by themselves. So
there is a update on the New Orleans Green Bay game. They're moving the game from New Orleans to Jacksonville. So New Orleans will be the home team.
You ever been over to Jacksonville for a game?
Could be.
That is one tough place to get in and out of.
It is. Coach Craig and I went years ago in a kickoff classic game down there at Jacksonville Stadium. It was we sat behind the Florida State band, Florida State and BYU, and Florida State prevailed. But you're right; it's tough getting in and out of there.
Most definitely, but well,
who do we got Friday night?
We got
Kansas.
No, we got one game Friday night. Kansas, after they stormed the field against a FCS opponent, they were favored by 10 points against. I know it was their first victory in a while, and
offered the coach a new contract.
I don't know because we didn't pick that game. I'm not sure who they end up playing.
But we are going to pick Coastal Carolina and Kansas. The Chanticleers.
11-1 last year.
Yeah, they're top.
Had a great season. I'm going with the Birds in this one. Well, I can't say that because Jayhawk is a bird as well. Okay. So
I'm going with C squared.
Coastal Carolina for me and for you as well. Now we move over to Saturday. The VAR. I always say that Raiders and Irish. I get those mixed up because they're my two favorite teams. And Notre Dame hosting Toledo. 1-0, Toledo with the victory. Notre Dame, I believe, is a 16-point favorite going into that game. And,
it'll be interesting. I know Notre Dame lost some players, the injuries. I was really impressed with Cone. It was a first game. As Coach said on TV, Notre Dame. Coach Kelly said Notre Dame didn't execute, but he'd like to execute his players.
It was all tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, yeah. And Coach John McKay said that, I think, years ago in the creamsicle jersey Tampa Bay team. I was really impressed with Cone. He had some throws on his out routes that were just, I don't know how you could, when you saw him from the skybox and saw replays on TV, but he was throwing some darts out there into double coverage only where, these were professional. I think no one was up at the end of the Notre Dame game. I watched the end by myself. Notre Dame's my second favorite team, the Catholics, right? Okay.
You root for them anytime they're not, as long as they're not playing Florida State.
Right. And, I want to make a prediction. Cohn will be in New York
Wow.
for the Heisman. He may not win it, but if I don't know. I'm not a football coach. What I saw of him, 4 touchdown passes. Say what you want about Florida State's secondary, but he threw some darts out there, and he had some. I just think it was a good fit, and I think it was a good pickup.
One thing Notre Dame needs to work on, though, is they couldn't get the running game going against Florida State. They only managed about 65 yards.
Yeah.
But Cohen did throw for 361 yards. Solid contest, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He did throw 1 pick at the end of the game on the Hail Mary. The only thing I saw on him was possibly arm strength, because he was at the 50 and he couldn't even get that ball into the end zone on the Hail Mary at the end of the game. May not be an issue. Maybe it's just the pressure of the moment, trying to get the ball off. Got it more up than out.
Right.
And but what a game. And I'm going with Notre Dame at home. Wake up the Echoes.
Wake up the Echoes. I'll go with Notre Dame, too. I do have some inside information that members of the Toledo football team will be attending chapel before the game. And so everybody could say, "Holy Toledo!"
Oh, my God. How long have you been holding that one?
I just saw it. The Rockets, aren't they? The Rockets.
The Rockets.
Good MAC school, but no comparison to the Catholics.
Eastern Michigan 1-0. Wisconsin, I look for the Badgers to jump back in this one and get their first victory on the season, but I need to see better play out of one Garrett Marks.
Agreed. Eastern Michigan, out of my sister's hometown, Ypsilanti, Michigan, right outside of Ann Arbor.
That?
I can, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Why?
I can do math on there, and you can do spelling on there. We're a pretty talented bunch.
Yeah, well, I'm going to face for radio.
Okay, now the big game of the weekend. Oregon 1-0, traveling to Ohio State to the Horseshoe, and Oregon struggled at times last week.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Ohio State big in this one.
I think it'll be quite a game for the first half. Could be a defensive struggle. I think Ohio State will pull away in the second half. Florida
will travel to South Florida, who just got annihilated last week, shut out 45-0 by NC State. And you know what, folks? Florida's just a little bit better than NC State.
Oh, yeah. I mean, give credit where credit is due. I'm not a Gator fan by any stretch of the imagination. But Florida usually plays well on the road. They're going to be nice and loose. And I don't know if college has running clock, but they should. Florida, if they don't score half 100, I'll be stunned.
And we saw the emergence of one Anthony Richardson last week.
Yep.
I haven't watched that game yet. I'm going to go back and watch that game just to see his play. So rising star there at Florida. Murray State 1-0 heading to Cincinnati. The Bearcats will win big in that one.
Bear down, I think.
And put in their bid to join the Big 12.
Really?
Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, and BYU.
Interesting. Cincinnati could be.
They got games against Notre Dame and Indiana coming up in the next few weeks. If they can get by those 2 games, I see them going unbeaten in the regular season.
Notre Dame game will be very interesting. And believe it or not, where's that game at, by the way?
Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's going to be it's a tough ticket anywhere in South Bend. But anyway, Cincinnati, and there goes your water.
What's new?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Cincinnati should handle Murray State. Handling.
UAB, nice win in road in their first game. They're traveling to Georgia this week. Sorry, Blazers, you will get blazed upon this week.
Yeah, I think Georgia's going to be tight early. I mean, a huge win. Kirby's a smart coach. I know he'll have them up. That's his job. But I can see Georgia in the first half, maybe, 6-3, 7-3 lead because it's a very emotional win over Clemson. I still like Georgia in this game handily.
Ball State, the winners of the MAC last year, they're 1-0 heading to Happy Valley and Penn State. I think Penn State's going to build off that victory at Wisconsin, and I think they will win by a couple of touchdowns against Ball State.
Could be another trap game, a letdown game. Penn State's going to have to really focus because if not, Ball State's potentially good enough to pull an upset. I'm going to go with the Nittany Lions again, but keep an eye on this game.
Mercer 1-0. The sacrificial lamb in Tuscaloosa this week. Look what they did to Miami last week. Mercer, I'm going to change a letter around and add a Y. So Mercy. That is what they'll be
Very
hoping
good.
for at the end of the game.
I think Alabama, and I think their quarterback, I agree with a lot of ESPN writers that it's only one game. I realize that. He'll probably only play a half anyway. We'll get to see a lot of backup stars, future stars in this contest. He's another talented one that you could, if he continues after one, I know it's one game, but it was against Miami.
Look for
He could be in New York also.
Backup quarterback for Alabama is Milroy out of Texas. They say he's very, very talented and needs to work on his passing a little bit. But we may see him a lot in that game as well. So
Now,
both
to his
going
brother transferred. Is that
with,
correct?
he went to Maryland.
That's right, Maryland. Yeah.
Yeah, and next we have the Battle of Iowa. Iowa at Iowa State.
That's going to be where the ABC crew is going to be this week in Ames, Iowa.
There's been a cyclone sighting there.
There has. And we had a tropical storm go through Navarre today.
It seemed like it.
It was, yeah. It was Tropical Storm Mindy. Gosh. Boy, Matt Campbell is such
I
a
like the
good
way the
coach.
Hawkeyes looked last week. I'm
Yeah,
going to go
they
with the
did.
Hawkeyes on the road.
I'm gonna take the Hawkeyes.
Next we got South Carolina State 0-1. You know who one Navarre coach played football there. You know who that was? When Tony Carter played at South Carolina State.
Really?
And they're going to play at Death Valley, Clemson.
Speaking of sacrificial lambs, Clemson is. I feel sorry for South Carolina State because they don't have a prayer.
And here, the next game coming up is my upset special of the weekend. App State 1-0, traveling down to Miami Gardens to play Miami of Florida, who's lost big to Alabama, I know. And they're probably a little bit banged up from that Alabama game as well. I'm going to go with App State on the road.
Any chance I could make an excuse to root against the Hurricanes? Because, Hurricanes around here, we've had them.
That's a wordy dirt.
They blow, right? They blow trees everywhere. I can't use the S word, but I'm going to go with your pick. I think it's a great pick. App State is no stranger to upsets. Didn't they pull one off against Michigan years back?
They did.
And I think they'll go into Miami, and boy, you talk about a hot seat if they lose to App State. But I think that's a great pick. King is a very talented quarterback for Miami. He did okay, but spent a lot of time on his back in that game with Alabama defense. I'm going to go with App State.
Next, we're heading over to Louisiana and Lafayette, Louisiana, Nicholls State, 0-1, traveling Louisiana. Who got beat by a Texas team that actually looked like a Texas team.
I agree. I'm going to go with Louisiana in this one.
The
They
Raging
used to call
Cajuns.
them Ooh La La, right?
Yep,
Ooh La
and they're
La.
University of Louisiana at Lafayette.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Louisiana.
And NC State 1-0 at Mississippi State. 1-0. Mississippi State had to battle down from 20 points down in the fourth quarter with about 12 minutes left to go in the game. He pulled out a 35-34 win. I'm going with the Wolfpack on the road.
I am too. I think that's a great pick. Another SEC-ACC matchup there.
Here we got an old Big 12 matchup here.
Man.
I actually probably should say Big 8.
Yeah, the old Big 8.
Texas 1-0 traveling up to Arkansas. Arkansas took out Rice last week. Texas took out Louisiana. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the Longhorns here early on. I'm going to go with the Longhorns on the road.
I'm going to go with the Longhorns as well.
Next we have Missouri heading up to the Bluegrass State. Missouri 1-0, Kentucky 1-0. Kentucky with one of the best offensive lines in the country. I like the sophomore Connor Blasiak. That's one of Robbie's favorite quarterbacks. And I'm looking for this is a tough matchup. See if they got the – you go ahead and talk a second. I'm going to bring that one up and see what the spread is in that game.
I don't know. I don't trust Kentucky. But the game is at home. It's got to be almost, I would say Kentucky maybe by 3 or 3.5. Easy.
Let's pull it up here and see what we got.
Again, an SEC matchup. I don't know if the two teams have ever played before, Missouri and Kentucky. In basketball, that'd be a heck of a matchup, Missouri, but we're not playing basketball. We're playing football.
See if we can find it here.
Gosh, I don't trust either team.
Kind of inconsistency on both sides.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Wildcats at home.
Wildcats. Remember that movie? That was a good movie.
Yep.
See if I can find it here. Gosh, one thing I like that CBS Sports did is they list every D2, D1 AA, and D1 games on their scores, and they give updates. Kentucky is a 5-point favorite.
I'm going to go with the Cats.
I'll go. Oh, gosh, I still don't know what to. I'm going to go with the Cats as well, as much as I dislike Kentucky being from Indiana. Georgia State going on the road 0-1 at North Carolina 0-1. I look for a bounce-back game for North Carolina.
I agree.
Jacksonville State heading to FSU. Last time these two teams played, Jacksonville State almost pulled the upset. Not this week.
Yeah, I like what I saw out of Florida State. They played a total ball game. They total as in they didn't seem to quit. The defensive end transfer from Georgia played outstanding on defense. It'll be interesting to see who starts this week, either Milton or
I think it's
Travis.
Milton, hands down.
Travis did twist an ankle in the game,
he got his helmet knocked off.
He got his helmet knocked off,
bell
and
rung.
then he was limping a little bit. So we'll see. I like FSU big.
Okay, so right now we are chalk.
Everything. By the way, the tickets last week for the Notre Dame game, I could have gotten them at $110 a piece. This week's Florida State game tickets, I can get them for $13.
Joe Settle's going with Arkansas on the upset over Texas. Well, that's his alma mater. That's where he went to school. So, but I don't think so, Joe. Say it ain't so, Joe.
Say it ain't so.
Next we got Washington that loses to an FCS team.
Montana,
13-7 at home. Now they're traveled to the big house.
I wonder how Nocor felt about that.
He wasn't he was at the Maryland, West Virginia game.
Was he really?
Yeah, because he's going to training up there in Maryland, so he went up.
Okay. I'm going to go with the blue, big blue.
You're going with Michigan?
Yep.
I am going to go with Michigan as well. Next, we got Utah 1-0 at BYU 1-0. The battle of the Utah State.
I'm going with Utah on the road.
It's tough.
There's a lot of teams that are so evenly matched on paper that
we got to have one game at least different. And right now we don't. So I am going to go with BYU at home.
Okay.
So that's good because I'm not going to the next three. I think we're going to be spot on with our next three games. Idaho coming to Indiana, the Vandals, the Hoosiers will get back in the winning column in this one.
Yep.
UNLV, a program that's on the downward turn, heading to Arizona State on an upward turn as far as their football-wise. Other matters, not so much, but football-wise, I go with Arizona State.
On paper, they're probably favored by 18, but you know what Coach would say about that?
Not so fast, my friend.
No,
not that coach?
not that Coach.
Okay.
Coach of Arizona State.
That's why they play
the game.
They're 33-point favorites.
Ooh. Mercy.
So your 18 was just a little bit low.
That's the first quarter.
And then we head off to Stanford, USC, the finish off our games, and USC is a 17-point favorite.
Going to go with the Trojans. I'm gonna do something I've never done before.
What's that?
I'm gonna change a pick.
You are going to change a pick.
I am. I liked the State had the coaching decision. I liked the coach we have now, or Matt Campbell. I thought those two made the most sense.
Oh, you're going with the Cyclones.
I'm gonna change my pick to the home team.
Iowa State. Okay, you got it. Well, you have to turn in next Wednesday night to see how things turned out.
Yep.
And next we move on to one of my favorite segments where they are Navarre Raiders. Michael Carter getting ready to play his first game this week as they go up against Carolina. Auburn's Nick Brahms, the senior, they had a big win over Akron, 60-10. Maryville lost a tough one to Berry College, 20-14. That's where Bo Herring is a senior. Huntington College, I'm going to list a few players from Navarre. Huntington, Mark Struck. They lost a close one to Wisconsin Oshkosh, 28-24. So you had Mark Struck, Daryl Hickson, Garrett Schluter, Kyle Hickman. The list goes on here. You're going to add in Jabari Mitchell and Bailey Houston and Tyler England all playing. So you have 7 Navarre Raiders playing at Huntington College in Montgomery right now. And,
wow. And
the only one with any type of stats was Tyler England. Does not surprise me, as Tyler had, let me get a stat. He had 3 receptions for 34 yards, 5 punt returns for 24 yards, 4 assisted tackles, played both ways, and a 28-24 loss to Wisconsin Oshkosh. They'll be hosting Birmingham Southern this week. Auburn will be playing Alabama State. Maryville will be playing Center. Next, we move on down to West Virginia. Jordan Jefferson, he had 1 assist and a half a tackle for loss in the 30-24 loss to Maryland. And they'll be at hosting LIU this week. I think that's Long Island University. And then we're going to move over to Colorado State. What can you say about Dante Wright that hasn't already been said? 6 receptions, 103 yards, and unfortunately they lost 42-23 to a very tough FCS South Dakota State. And he had 2 punt returns for 8 yards as well.
The Jackrabbits.
No stats for Amari Green as he's up at Lake Erie College in Ohio. They did win their game last week, 31-26 over Clarion. They'll be at Franklin Pierce this week. Eastern Tennessee State with you can't really call it an upset over Vanderbilt. But they are an FCS program, and they made Vanderbilt look bad, 23-3 last week. And they'll be hosting West Virginia, Virginia Wise this week. And let's move on to our back page. We've got a lot of guys that are playing. South Alabama's Josh Carter. He's out this year with a medical red shirt. University of Louisville long snapper James Seacrest. His dad is also a coach over there for the Raging Cajuns.
Right.
They lost their first game to Texas 38-18. They'll be hosting Nicholls State this week. Harding defensive lineman Mitchell Hunt. He's a redshirt sophomore. They won 28-0 over East Central last week. They'll be at Southeastern Oklahoma this weekend. Colorado State, unfortunately, Grady Kelly will be redshirted this year.
Okay.
It's not always a bad thing.
No.
And with this year of COVID last year, a lot of the players came back, and they have a 6-year
Right. NCAA rule.
Players that have been at Colorado State for 6 years. So Grady will sit out this year and get his schooling going, and I'm sure he's very good in the classroom. North Carolina Wesleyan, they have Mekhi Domino and Zachary Marquise. Neither one got on the field. Fortunately, they lost to Emory and Henry this past week, 36-7. They'll be hosting Shenandoah this week. They're in the song with Shenandoah in it. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Next, we got Valdosta State. Elijah Melendez got his first action this week as they won big over Savannah State 53-7. If you want to see one of his videos, he's got posted out on Twitter. Check him out there. Then Field of Dreams Prep School, Jaden Rivera, running back for Navarre. He's playing down there in a prep school as he gets ready to go on to his next school after that. So that's our former Navarre Raiders and where they're at and what they're doing.
Tyler, England. Now, that level, does the travel restrictions, you can only bring so many athletes, football players on the road, does that also trickle down to the lower?
Yes.
So that speaks volumes that he played as a freshman.
Maybe he got some of it. Maybe he was on special teams, and no, he's a sophomore this year.
Sophomore. Okay.
They played 4 games last year as in his freshman season. Mm-hmm. He may be on special teams as well. That may be where he got his 4 assisted tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we're going to move over to big news this week. You know that West Florida is actually playing a home game this week.
No.
On campus for the very first time.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, they will be hosting Southwest Baptist this week. And so the very first home game ever played at UWF for the Argonauts football team. They have a nice field out there with a great field house and everything. My only concern was I haven't been out there in a couple of weeks. We drove by there when Brady was home last. That's where he goes out and does a lot of kicking. But there's no seats. So I'm wondering if they're going to be bringing in temporary seating for this game. And where people are going to park, I don't know. So, because I don't know if you've been out to UWF before. You know where the football field's at.
Yeah.
It's right next to the
aquatic
center.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting. I was almost thinking if I didn't have anything else to do Saturday night, maybe sneaking out and catching the game out at West Florida. But I'm sure it's going to be packed out there.
Right. Well, that's good. That's awesome for their inaugural game on campus.
So out of the 8 teams that play in Gulf South Conference, 7 of them went 1-0 last week.
Saw that.
Mississippi College is the only one that lost as they lost to Albany State. But Delta State beat Bethel 48-14. Albany State 24-0 over Mississippi College. West Georgia over Carson Newman 45-7. Carson Newman is where Damian Wright played. Did you know that?
Yeah. No.
He is the father of Devin and Dante Wright. And then we got West Florida going on the road and knocking off McNeese State 42-36. Shorter University got the win against the D3 school, Brevard College 38-14. North Greenville over Limestone 37-16. West Alabama over Morehouse 48-7. And we already told you that Valdosta scored 53-7. This week's schedule: West Alabama at Tuskegee, Valdosta State at Virginia Union. Morehouse College goes to West Georgia to Carrollton, Georgia. Southwest Baptist at UWF, North Greenville at Newberry, McKendree University at Delta State, and Charter University travels down to Albany to take on Albany State. That's Gulf South action. Now we're going to go over the SIAC. as teams got playing last week. Albany State took out Mississippi College. We already scored. Miles lost a tough one in overtime to Alabama State, 14-13, as they had an extra point blocked in overtime for the margin of victory. Clark Atlanta over Livingstone College, 13-0. Benedict over Allen, 45-12. University of Arkansas Pine Bluff over Lane College, 36-16. And Fort Valley State over Tuskegee, 30-0. Week 3 schedule: Edward Waters at Benedict, Miles at Southern, Fort Valley State at Florida A&M, Central State at Lincoln University, Pennsylvania, Kentucky Wesleyan at Kentucky State, West Alabama at Tuskegee, Lane College at Clark Atlanta, Livingstone College at Savannah, Shorter at Albany State, and Morehouse College at West Georgia. And that's going to put a wrap on another Irish Bills Twist on Sports.
Been a great night. We had beauty in the room.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
Besides you.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're down a few more pounds. Proud of you.
Wow. You know, I went and weighed in. I was like, I'd got a couple of weeks there without losing any, and I went in last night and I was down 4 more, and I was 52 pounds so far. And I tell you, you got to really work at it. Like anything in life, you get out of it what you put into it. And,
right.
And I still got a few more pounds to go. I'm looking at about another 20 to 25 pounds, and then Irish Bill will be a little bit happier. Well, I'm already happy, but I'll be more happy, and there'll be a little less of me. But I'm looking forward to Friday night, getting back on the air, and after not being on it was weird last Friday night not doing a game, and with all the other games going on.
I didn't know what to do with myself.
So I stayed home and watched the Colorado State game.
I did too. Although I think I may have fallen asleep during the game. It was just an exhausting week. Take a personal note to thank our men and women in uniform. We had a long week. My daughter is married to Corey Hossman, who likes both Iowa and Iowa State. I don't know how Corey's gonna wear, one sock Iowa State, one sock. Corey was on the carrier, the Lincoln. He was the squadron commander of the 8-ballers, a 3-helicopter squadron on board. And Corey knew the pilots and crew. They were part. You were in the service. You know what it's like to.
Yeah, I had a few of my fellow airmen when I was in the 20th SOS years ago that unfortunately gave the ultimate sacrifice to their country.
A little bit more has come out where the helicopters land in a box, the wheels do, and as they landed, the helicopter started to shake, and when it shook, one of the blades, it started tipping, and the blades hit the deck. That's why some of the crewmen that are responsible for tying down the helicopters were injured. So our prayers go out to the 8-ballers. A memorial service will be held. Of course, they've gone from search and rescue to just trying to find and bring some closure to the families. My daughter, everything was blacked out, as you can imagine. No email, no phone. And it was unfortunately through a process of elimination where the Navy had said all the families of those affected had been notified. And so that night around midnight, we found out that Corey was safe. He was part of the search and rescue. I can't imagine. So my twisted take is not a twisted take. I stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem for a reason. And to think that those that pay the ultimate sacrifice, as they all do, They have families. They have moms and dads. Some of them left wives and children behind. And so put your hand over your heart for the national anthem. Remove your cap. Stand at attention. And be glad you're in the country that you are. I certainly understand those that have a right by our Constitution not to do so. I'm just telling you why I do. That's not a twisted take. That's just a proud American. Son of an officer. Was not in service myself. But I thank my dear friend and partner Bill for his service. And this week, it became really real for our family as we waited news of Corey's safety.
As well as the families of the 13 soldiers over in Iraq at the airport there, and it really hits home. I've had fellow airmen that I actually was stationed with that gave the ultimate sacrifice. It's tough, but they would tell you over and over again that they would do it again. And I'm sure all the seamen that were out there, out in California as well, would say the same thing. It's a choice. We don't have to do it. We want to do it because it's what we feel is giving back to our country, that's given us so much, and so our prayers go out to all those families affected by both incidents.
Exactly.
And we wish you Godspeed in the future. So, well, until Friday night, it looks like we're going to close up shop here again, Bob.
Sounds good.
Until
closing down Culver's. I love
closing
it.
down Culver's. And this Irish Bill for Seminole Bob until Friday night from Milton High School, where the Raiders will finally get game number 2 in the books as they travel to face off with the Milton Panthers, our Santa Rosa County foe, to the north, up 87 and off of 90, and we'll be right there at the stadium.
Yep.
We'll be broadcasting from the visitors' side. Still trying to figure out where, but we'll figure it out once we get up there.
Yep.
But until then, may the wind ever be at your back. This is Irish Bill signing off.
Good night, Navarre, and God bless.